So when we were going to the beach, because I already put up the other video of like when I get to the beach and everything like that, what it was like, right? When we were going to the beach, and excuse me, my face is not made up. I look a little, but anyways, some glitchy things, right? So first glitchy thing was we go to a supermarket where I don't usually go to, and I always tell you, like, the Matrix works a lot with like patterns. So I remember like when I used to go to the supermarket in the summer, like they started doing like weird stuff, like doing like, I don't know, just weird ways to go around in the entrance, to going in circles and just like a maze, like just weird stuff. Anyways, so now it's like winter, I guess. So when we went in, it was like all the doors were like easily accessible to get to exactly the part of the supermarket that you had to get to. So, you know, versus where they, like I said, in the summer, they closed off certain areas of the supermarket, and instead of you just like walking from like here to like right in front of you is like the baking section, they made you like take a whole tour around like the whole supermarket before you can get into that section, like going in a circle. It was like really like stupid. But anyways, so back to the main idea. So we go to a supermarket, we buy the things we want to buy, right? So we get on the line. Now, even from the other supermarket where I usually go, there's this thing that like I noticed, and this goes back to the video that I spoke about where like I really swear to God feel like some of the cashiers are freaking bots. Like I feel like they're bots. I don't know. I already did that video where like the lady had like this weird like remote kind of thing where she held it near like one of the cashier's heads. When I used to use the little coupons that they were giving me, I was going to, you know, we had just arrived, and then in the summer, I stopped working, so I had to go to the Secours Catholic, and they were giving me like these little, like basically like little coupons to go to the supermarket and buy, right? So as I started working online, like I don't need them anymore, but I remember when every time I was using it, they would like do weird stuff, and they would say like, no, this is not included, like that's not included, and then I would have to go to the counter and be like, hey, this says this, and then they would have to manually like fix it or like say something to the ladies as if they were like programmed to reject certain things with the little coupons, right? So anyway, so I already have in my head that like I swear some of the cashiers are like bots, right? So it was just interesting because then when we're like online, right? And this is something, like I said, happens in the other supermarket. Like I noticed like they'll do things to try to entice you to go to one line versus the other. So like, let's say you're on a line and you choose this line, right? But maybe the next line, like there's like less people in it. All right, well, you have the option. You'll even notice like they try to purposely go to other lines, even though that space is available, so that like you feel more enticed to like move into the line that's shorter, right? Because that's what we would normally react and do. But I have this thing, and I decided that when I get into a line, I just stay on that line. I don't care if it's long or short, because that's the line that I'm on, and I don't care like what happens, because I notice like they try to do things so that you kind of like switch, right? Maybe they don't want you to deal with certain cashiers for whatever reason. And since in this little simulation where I am at here in France, they pretend when they want to that it's one narrative, and then when they don't want to, they pretend that it's like, oh, it's a big joke. Like, yeah, it's a big joke. I'll hack the whole system. Don't worry. We'll all be laughing. But anyways, so like I'm in the line, and again, I'm always keeping to myself. So this lady comes up to me and my daughter, and she says something, and I didn't catch her, like, I didn't understand what she was saying at first. And then you understood what she said, right? What did she say?
She said that the line was for disabled.
Yeah, she said that the lines were for the disabled or something. Like, you know, my French is like this. So especially like she just started talking, and I was like, what? And then so then I looked up, and I was like on line number 1, and I saw like it had the little handicap picture. But I was in the line, and it was pretty long, and like it didn't really matter. Like usually when they say it's like for handicapped people, it just means that obviously if a handicapped person comes, they get the right of, you know, the right of way, right? Like you let them go first, and that's fine. But like nobody was, you know, everybody was on the line like normal. So it was just like weird that she said that. The other line next to us, my daughter, who's still a bit like reactive and doesn't catch on in the simulation, she's like, oh, look, that one's short. I said, no, let's stay where we are. And then that lady who said that, then she started to like move down to like another cashier. So at first I was just like, oh, okay. But then when I saw like there were other people in the line like normal, then it even caught on. I was like, no, I'm going to stay where I'm at. And that's it. So I just stayed where I was at. So then we're on the line. Then we hear over the loudspeaker. Now here's the glitchy part. So the loudspeaker says all of a sudden, cashier 4 is open, and they say it in French and they say it in English, because where I live they do have some people who come as tourists, but I guess also you never know, they said it in English and in French. So they're like, cashier 4 is open. So whatever, I don't care, I'm in cashier 1, so I'm not gonna actually like go all the way over there. And so then that's ignored, and then they come back again and they said it again. They said cashier 4 is now open or something like this, right? So I just like ignore it again. We're all ignoring it because obviously this is the real world. We're just in the supermarket, right? It shouldn't really matter, whatever. So then next thing you know, we hear that they say, right after they just said that, not even like 2 minutes past, they go, cashier 4 is closed. Or she said, at 4 we're closing, or cash. She didn't say cashier floor was closed. She said, we're closing at 4, okay? And I'm like, what? Like, they're closing at 4 because it's Saturday, and normally the supermarket is open, most of the day. So, like, they're open at 4. They're closing at 4. So I was like, that's weird. Okay, whatever. And I was just like, you know what? I'll check that when I get home on the, because I don't have time because I'm there buying the stuff because we were going to the beach. So she's like, cashier 4 is closed. I'm sorry, not cashier 4. The supermarket's closing at 4. Okay, so now we're at the supermarket's closing at 4. And then additionally, she says, do not place anything on the conveyor belt. And I'm just like listening to this. I'm like, okay. And everybody, mind you, is in the supermarket. Like everybody's just, because obviously I'm thinking to myself, like, what are they going to do? Like, we're all online, like there's a person in front of me, like we're all on the lines putting our stuff, because even if it were to be closing, like the people who are actually in the supermarket on the line, what are you going to do? Just stop it? Like, it was just like a weird announcement. And I was just like, this system is just glitching out, just completely glitching out. You might think it's just like, I don't even know, like, what would you even call that? Because it was just weird. Because first, it was just weird. First, it was the cashier was open, and then after that, they just claimed that the supermarket was closing. And then the funny thing is, when we went to the beach, we were only there for like maybe an hour and a half or 2. So when it was like about 3:53 something, we were coming back passing the supermarket, and it looked like it was clearly open. Mind you, when she said we're closing at 4, it was still only like 1 in the afternoon. So it didn't even make sense. That was the glitch. I'm sorry, I tell the story all in a jumbled way. The whole point of why it was weird was because it was still like 1 in the afternoon, and she's like, we're closing at 4, don't put anything on the conveyor belt. And then it was like weird because I was even asking my daughter, is she talking about now the register that they just opened? But they made it sound as if the whole supermarket was, I don't know, just like weird stuff. But then when we were coming back, it was like open. So I'm still a little like weirded out by that. But anyways, let's let that slide. The best part of what I thought was pretty interesting today that we saw was that we were walking, and I always look at a lot of the houses and I always wonder now, I'm like, can you imagine like these houses, they're just part of like the setup. You know how you still have like people spawning and all of that in the simulation, and it's just like, so it was interesting because there's this house that we would always pass by when we would walk in the summer, and the house has like this swimming pool, right? It's like a climb-in swimming pool, and we passed by today. Mind you, we are in February. Not only was the swimming pool full of water and open, right, which is already strange, it was completely clean. Because I asked my dad, I'm like, isn't that weird that they have their swimming pool open in February? Because nobody's going to get in the pool in February. And, it's completely clean. So they're obviously, like, cleaning it, or it's been clean. And why would they have it open in February? Like, normally, like, most people would have their swimming pool closed and probably not filled with water. I don't know. It's just a little weird. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe they like to go skinny dipping in February in the pool. Who knows? But it was just weird because the pool was open the same way that we would see it in the summertime. You know what I'm trying to say? And so it's just weird. And in that street that we usually walk to down to the beach is usually like not populated. It's pretty quiet and stuff like that. So, when certain things happen, like, I know it might sound really weird, like there are certain times in this world where like you turn on the street at the precise moment, like they'll, like, I don't know if the system does it, I don't know who does it, but they try to like let like a cat run out in the middle of your way, like right in that moment, or a dog cross. Like it's just weird because it's like so so precisely timed. It just seems a little bit interesting. If it happens once, it's one thing, but if you've noticed it happen like several times where like you walk into a certain street and right at that same time a cat starts running across, which has happened to us a lot of time, it's just kind of like very noticeable. But anyways, those are some of the interesting things that happened. I don't know what was going on in the supermarket, but something was going on. Maybe I don't know. Maybe she was talking about the register. Who knows? But it was just like weird because it was like the register's open. No, the register's closed. No, I don't know. Just a lot of weird stuff going on. And then plus, like I said, like the lady trying to come and like talk to me, like you know how I feel about people talking to me. But anyways, that was it. So I just wanted to do a little video talking about that, and yeah, that's it.